My mother.
This is Audible.
An old story. The zero-sum hierarchy.
Before I continue my perspective on, well, first of all, I'm grateful for this recommendation. 2, so far, it's a good listen. It's a great listen because it resonates. There's a lot of things that I've either known or have thought about, have heard from other perspectives, but I don't communicate it as clear as she is. And she has facts behind it, and also has, from the sound of it, has been in the environments that back the data. I know that. So the one point that I'd like to add to what I'm listening to is she stated America, and not to de-edify or bring down anything that she said. It's everybody. Like to the point of everything she's saying is like there's no such thing, to me, in my perspective. There's no such thing as in America, or like, to me, we're literally all one. Like, yeah, we have individual personalities, we have different fingerprints, we have, whatever facts scientists have come up with, but at the end of it all, there's nobody that's better than nobody. Nobody. From a, yes, you're gonna be better than somebody if you work harder towards something, but what I mean is there's nobody that's better than a specific person because of where they come from, their income level, their level of education. Like, yes, they're better from a technical perspective because the world we live in, the economy we live in, puts them in a better place, in a better position. But from a core, from a fundamental perspective, from a core, fundamentally sound perspective, we all have the right and we all have the ability to create. And I truly believe that if every human was given the same amount of resources, and not just given the resources, but also fundamentally put in. So the best way I could put that is, I think his name is Chamath, he said, I don't think that everybody needs to, he said, yeah, I can't really say verbatim, but this is the second time I've said it, is like, I don't necessarily believe in everybody needs to be equal, but if everybody just started, if everybody had the same starting line, right, it doesn't necessarily mean, has to be in the same house or whatnot, but what is fundamentally driving us humans to be in a better position? What is the reason for, what's the reason for people actually living different, operating different, walking with a clear mind, having emotional stability, understanding what's going on, understanding the basics of humanity, the things that actually matter? What's that everybody's starting with the solid, the same starting line on that, and it's going to take centuries. It's not, or maybe not centuries, it's going to take time, but I believe that with the internet, with the technology that's around, and not that I know any specific, but I believe just YouTube within itself, that technology, the fact that we could educate each other and not really be in front of each other, to me, that's just technology from a real basic level. Stuff like that is what's going to help balance out the level of education. And my thing is, everybody needs access to that. Like, I don't know who's in control. Well, obviously, I don't know who's in control of blocking specific videos in other countries, but it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, why? And it just goes to my point, and I'm gonna end it with this and continue listening to this audio, is the number one thing that I always think And I thought about this after I had this conversation with Mrs. Cox. I was thinking, like, this is a something that I've thought of before. Like, I've always had this thought in my mind, is there's no way that, and my level of education, my understanding, I always say white people and shit, but it's really the people that know, the people that are on top, the people that are making these policies, the people that are so that have so much power or control over people because of their level of understanding, because of knowing the right person and being put in places in a position of power without really deserving it, or really having a firm understanding or even the right heart to be in that position, but they're just put in it because their father was in it, or they are in the family within that space. I always say that for those people, like, we're never going to get to the point of humanity like we really could until we eliminate that bullshit. Like, no matter what, yes, we're gonna innovate, we're gonna do things differently, we're gonna create new technology, we're gonna make high yields on returns, we're gonna make a lot of money. There's gonna be people that make a shit ton of money because of these innovations, the technology that's around, because of the level of education that's being able to be transferred, the education that's transferred, even through what we have right now, even within the state. But I always say, like, no matter how far we get, there's never going to be like this is a race with all of us. This is a marathon that we're all running, and it just makes me think of like, when we would jog as a football team, we'd jog, and if there's somebody that was falling behind, there's always somebody that's encouraging that person. Like, of course, you're gonna have there's people that, it wasn't the whole team, unfortunately, that would encourage this person. There would be just a few people encouraging that one person, even though you could run and you could do laps. It's like, there's somebody right there, he's a bigger dude, and he needs encouragement, he can't stop, and he's struggling, and I don't know what it took, but that helped people to just continue going and know that they're not by themselves. But at the end of the day, it's like, as a team, we were all getting better together, and for the life of me, I just don't understand why we don't realize that we all have strengths and weaknesses, and if we just utilize from a country perspective, from a nation perspective, from a world perspective, like, every fucking body in this universe counts. Not, oh, they live in Zimbabwe, or they live in bumfuck Egypt, or the other Germany, and some really poor area in Australia, or Irish. I don't know what the place is for that, but the point is that there's people everywhere, and I just truly believe, like, from a fundamental perspective, I believe the wrong people are in power, and the wrong rules are being set in place because the wrong people are making these rules. It's like, what is the difference between somebody that is in another part of the country? Why can't they be educated like somebody in America? Or the right question is, how can they begin to have access to this level of education and have access to the resources? And the number one excuse is, oh, but we can't afford that. I remember one person said, and this was, that's why, at the end of the day, this dude that I met, he was a great person. I gave him a ride. He was driving to Bel Air. His name was Mark. But the one statement that really got me, and I thought about it after our conversation, was, he said, we got to help our own, And in my mind, I'm like, who's our own, bro? Like, I didn't think it immediately, but after, in retrospect, I was thinking about that conversation. I was like, who's our own, bro? Like, we could help everybody. There's no such thing. And that just goes to the point of this audio, and her name is Heather. What she's talking about like, thinking as if, oh, I don't know how to word it, but at the expense of somebody else, like, my gain comes at the expense of somebody else. Like, yeah, we all have to contribute, but we don't have to contribute, but it would be beneficial as a race, as a nation, as a whole, for everybody to just contribute and do their part. At the end of the day, you don't have to take from somebody else and keep taking and pulling, and not just take, but limit or completely alter the life of somebody else because you feel as if they're gonna come on top, or they're gonna take what's yours. we don't realize a lot of the stuff. Like, if we just think from a logical perspective, take what's yours. It's like, number one, you don't take anything with you when you go. Number two, half the shit that we think we have ends up not really lasting. Like, whatever it is that you think people are gonna take, whether it's cars, you see cars in like storage units, old ass rusty cars, and then you see an exaggerated amount of vehicles that have been made in this world. It's like, what did you lose, bro? Like, there's more than enough. And if anything, if we just utilize our resources right, and if it's so important to you, we could just work as a team and make you a specific car or a specific house. Or if you want land, there's more than enough land. If that's what you want, there's a way for the human race and us to put something together so what your needs are met. Like, at the end of the day, giving or providing or making sure that, and the thing is that a person at a high level that has all this stuff, it's not even like they need to. At this point, it's just a matter of, I don't know what's stopping it. I don't know what's stopping it, but my perspective is it's education, and it's shifting now. Like, at the end of the day, here within this country, I believe it's shifting just because the internet. But then also there's habits that we have to begin to change, because we've been conditioned a specific way, and we, from a fundamental perspective, the human is a habit-based human. So even if the resources are available, they've already been conditioned and they're operating a specific way. So it's like, just because it's available, we can't get upset that they're not taking advantage of what is available, because 9 times out of 10 is you have to wake up. We're operating under a habitual spell, like, or whatever word you want to use, but at the end of the day, we are habitual creatures. So I gotta figure this out, and I gotta keep doing my part to improve. But this is non-stop. And there's so much more. That's the underlying point, is there's so much more, and we're never going to, like, if this is rich person and this is poor person and middle class, or let's just keep it basic, rich person and poor person. Rich person could get here, but and poor person could be like right here, but whatever this rich person and is able to actually get, they don't even know it, but they could keep moving forward. That's cool. But what they're actually like worthy of, and what is for them, and what great things are in this future for them as well, they're never gonna reach it, because they're fucking, I don't know what they're doing, but it's just never gonna happen. You're never gonna reach that point. I've always said that. It's like, you're never gonna fucking reach that point. And I'm sharing this from a, I don't know, perspective. Like, I don't know what's going through their mind, but from a fundamental human race perspective, from an internal, what really matters, they're not until that shit stops. And I know that we have the resources, I know we have the power, I know we have we have everything we fucking need. The only thing we have everything we need except the right people in power. From a period, mic drop. And thank you to, I want to say her name, Mozzie Cox, or Mozzie Cox, or Mosey. I think it's Mozzie Cox. Thank you.
Growing up, my family and my neighbors were always hustling. My mother had the fluctuating
as soon as I
income
start driving,
of a person with
they
an
gonna send me a
entrepreneur's
call.
mind
Let me
and a
spend some
social
gas.
worker's heart.
Got me sitting on
My
commission
dad,
day, bro.
divorced
This
from
is
my
shit I'm
mom
talking
since I
about.
was 2,
But I
had
can't
his
complain. I gotta figure out a way. I'm working a job, I gotta be grateful, but I'm not making no money by sitting here. So I'm grateful I utilize this time listening to an audio, improving my mind. That whole time, if I wasn't listening to that, my mind probably would have been on complaining internally, like, what the fuck I'm over here saying here. I would have been like, I had thoughts of just calling and say, hey, am I good to go home? I mean, I'm working for free, what's going on? But because I was listening to the audio, my mind wasn't able to just be fully occupied with those thoughts the whole time. Watch me start driving and they're gonna be like, oh, okay, I'll get a call. Watch. Damn, let's see what's up. For some reason, that's why my mirrors were fucking different. I knew something was off. Let's get it. Fried pizza, sell slices. if they don't, there's a Thai place right next to it. I will fuck that up. I hate this fucking mask thing. I hate it so much because it's becoming a habit. It's becoming a fucking part of my life, god damn it. But gotta deal with it. Gotta deal with it. It's gonna change. Everything's gonna change for the better. Eventually, the fucking wrong people, that consciousness, that thought process is gonna be gone. And there's gonna be a select few that's gonna try to fight it, but ultimately, I believe that we're gonna wake up. Enough people are gonna wake up to where it's uncontrollable, in a good way. I don't think it's gonna be like a scary, uncontrollable thing, but it's gonna be something that it's gonna do good. It's gonna do good to society and the world. But let me get a slice and see what's up.